George.
Bart George.
Bart George. There's Alex looking at the Palisades.
Cool. Remember when we were here in the winter time?
Where did he go? Where's Alex? See him out there? I'm looking for him out there.
Are you trying to see me? Yeah.
Let's go find Grandma.
What is it?
Daddy, that would probably be 100 knees.
Ready, aim.
Fire!
That. Yeah.
What it is, what it is, what it is. It's a funk alone, I'm feeling. What it is. And the hips from left to right. What it is. What it is, I love to join. This funkiness so tight. Put your hands up in the air. Hey, got a feeling you ain't got a care. You got to tell this burn that tears us up all inside. Rock steady, baby. Rock steady. Hey, boy. Rock steady, baby. Rock steady. This burn tears us up all inside. Rock steady, baby. Rock steady. Rock steady, baby. Rock steady.
said, tonight we will be making an exception for our young and very eager children. Certainly, there's a number of other requirements into joining the British Army. Simply enough, you had to have 2 arms. Hopefully, a hand at the end of each arm. You had to have 2 legs. Again, 1 foot on the end of each leg. On the hands themselves, you had to have 3 fingers. Hopefully, the trigger finger as one of them, and a thumb as well. And probably one of the strangest requirements that Corporal Mitchell is, of course, going to have to look at all of these young volunteers. One of the most important, they had to make sure that each of these young children have 2 sets of front teeth that touch. Big smiles here, making sure everybody has these teeth that touch. And it is an important requirement to actually loading and firing the muskets. And you'll see that later on in our infantry demonstration. The young soldiers, of course, have to be able to rip open the cartridges in order to load the muskets with their front teeth. So the first position of a soldier that these young volunteers are going to learn is known as the shoulder arms. The very simple way of how a soldier would stand is at attention at the shoulder arms. And as we can see, some of them have got it.
To the right of the leader.
Looks like we have a commander who's challenging Corporal Mitchell.
Oh, I see.
So the first thing that Corporal Mitchell is going to be teaching our young Army here is actually how to load and fire the musket. A fairly, certainly important part of being a soldier is actually having to be able to shoot the weapon. It's a 13-step process to actually load and fire one of these things, and this was drilled constantly into soldiers 200 years ago on at least a 5 to 6 hour basis a day, making sure that they could load and fire one of these things. We'll see how well these young'uns do at their first attempt. And Corporal Mitchell, there are other muskets on their way.
Don't eat it, swallow it. Very good. Now. Good. Now. Good. Pour the rest of the gunpowder down the top.
So now the muskets are loaded.
What we're going to do is I'm going to say, make ready. What you going to be doing?
We gotta get a hug of that. It's too chilly. It's like Kitty and ice cream. That's okay.
Hear that? Click. You're going to point it. Well, yeah, pointed at them. This little guy here says fire. Everyone yell, kabam, or blam, or bang. Whoever you want. Okay? All right, you ready?
Terrifying, isn't it? Nothing more distressing than having young children screaming bang at you with wooden firearms.
Oh, it gets better.
Uh-oh.
All right. Fire.
As Phineas Riel said at the Battle of Chippewa of the American soldiers, these are regulars, by God. Well, maybe not quite. So they've loosened up the enemy, they've softened them up with musketry, and now they're going to go for the coup de grace. They have now affixed bayonets. It's 17 inches of triangular steel, the most terrifying part of a battle.
We're gonna run it down.
Can they charge for us?
Don't tell them. Oh, it's free. Oh, well, no. All right, so me and my little lad boy here, we're gonna walk.
So it is the end of the battle. The enemy, let's say for the purpose of this situation, the Americans are stopped firing. They might not be firing at all. They might even be starting to run away. So we're going to give them the final bayonet charge. And for those of you on the right side there, I'd be terrified. And as they go screaming into the crowd, do we have any injuries? Any injuries over there? I hope not. Okay. That dirty fence, take it out. Try not to actually wreck our fence, please, actually.
Is that long enough?
I think that's long enough, Corporal Mitchell. Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, a hand for our mini militia here at Fort George. Huzzah! Well done, well done. Hooray! Now that we've thoroughly riled them up, we're giving them back to you. Have a good evening.
Well done.
For certainly making this evening's event possible. So on behalf of the candidate committee, donations from local businesses and individuals, the Secretary of State, Department of Canadian Heritage, donation by the Town Council of Niagara-on-the-Lake to support the fireworks, and of course to Greg Warner and the Fire Department for going to be putting on the fireworks display later this evening. At any point tonight, if you happen to get a little bit of the munchies, just to put in a bit of a plug for our volunteer organization, the Friends of Fort George are serving wonderful food over there and drinks. If you need anything over there, available for a very reasonable price. Any of the proceeds help go towards paying for this evening's event. So I'd like to invite some of the Fort George staff members, three ladies, who have graciously volunteered to lead us in the singing of O Canada. If I could ask everybody to stand for the singing of our national anthem.
Lift your head up.
I do warn you, we will be firing this artillery piece on the field at the conclusion of O Canada, particularly for the audience that's on this half. I would suggest plugging your ears, as it does look like a small piece, but however, it is quite a large bang.
Ready?
I'm going to be right here. I want to hear it, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
actually throw grenades,
when I was
they
watching
tended
it,
to
'cause I haven't
kill more
watched
grenadiers than they killed the enemies. They did away with the grenades, kept the name. They actually had to be 5'11" to join the grenadier line, and they were basically shock troops. They were there to smash through breaches and walls and run at beachheads and all such sort. Now what the infantry are doing for you right now is going through the manual exercise. Excuse me, they're going through actually the inspection exercise, going through to make sure that all the weapons are in fact clean. The sergeant is going to go through and ensure that there are certainly no residue from the black powder, and there are no actual cartridges in the barrels. And so you'll see them walk by and actually hear the dings of the weapons. By hearing a ding with these weapons, the sergeant knows they're in fact clean, and then you can then go back and inspect them.
And it was because of that counselor that... Oh, I didn't care about a fling with him. I just wanted her to do like every day. What's up with Phil? What do you think about Phil's like some kind of... He's obsessed We've got a blanket. Do you guys want to expand this room, or should we sit and stare at your bed? Thank you. You can expand this room.
The infantry are now going through the manual of exercises, all the different motions that you can actually carry the Brown Bess musket. And so what they're doing actually, this one, very pertinent for today, the secure arms. In fact, you're using that particular position to cover the lock mechanism from any wet weather, such as rain or snow or sleet. And it's of course important to keep your powder dry, and unfortunately black powder does turn into an inert goo if it does get wet, and the weapon will not fire. And so that is certainly a very important step, or a very important position to be in on a rainy day. The next, fixing their triangular socket bayonets. Those of you in the modern military may recognize this, but for those of you, this is a salute to you. That is the present arms. The advance arms is used to certainly break the tedium of carrying a 13-pound musket in your left hand. Well, you can bring it down to your right hand as well. It's also good for going underneath trees and low branches and low doorways. Are there any Americans in the crowd? Welcome to Canada. This is just another way of carrying the weapon to ease the pain of having, again, that heavy weapon in one hand. You can have it sort of cradled. These maneuvers could be performed by the soldiers of the time period, probably in their sleep, as they were doing this constantly, rain or shine, sleet or snow, constantly, at least 5 to 6 hours a day, going through these different steps and maneuvers in order so that they can, on a battlefield situation, be able to do this flawlessly without even having to think about it. And this is one of the reasons why the British Army was considered the most disciplined, the most well-trained, really one of the most professional armies in the world.
fiber for
Right to the floor.
The drill squad is now going to perform what is known as the platoon loading. Notice the smoke that flies across these folks as they fire. And again, this is only 8 muskets going off. You can imagine on a battlefield with thousands of muskets, you literally create what is known as the fog of war, where for a short, brief period of time, we would not even be able to see each other at all.
Are they doing another one?
Yep.
I hope this isn't the fireworks.
Going through your brain until you get to the other side.
I said if you put them all together.
I'm so glad I'm not over there. I'm so glad I'm not Grandpa.
You can do it. I thought I'd see if you could do it, Alex, but they wouldn't let children do it. Well, you're not old enough. Oh, look at the kite.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you can give a big round of applause to our drill squad here at the fort, not only our full-time professional drill squad, but also our interpreters here at the fort who have formed their own drill squad. You may see some of the people in the front rank are actually young ladies, and they actually form our interpreter guides here at the fort, going through literally thousands of school children in May and June, and then working all the buildings. They, on their spare time, and actually volunteer one night a week to come out and learn of course, the manual of exercises, how to fire, and then we actually enter a competition later in August, and you're certainly welcome to come to that. It'll be our fife and drum muster and soldiers field day, and you can see how proficient all these folks have gotten within a month and a half of training. But again, thank you very much. At this juncture, I have to go and help load a cannon.
Cannon time!
You got the earplugs.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I appear to be your third but final MC of the evening. I'm Drum Major Alexander, and we're going to be firing the 3-pounder gun. I know that you had a chance perhaps to see it at the beginning. These gunners are about to go through a dry run first to make sure that the gun is in fact clear and that it is safe to fire. We do have some guests with us this evening who have been lucky enough to be offered the opportunity to fire these guns. So they are precariously, they're sort of carefully walking over to a position. You'll notice they're wearing a lot of wool, and that's to prevent any sparks from going off and setting their clothing on fire. Not that I want to scare them or anything, that's not going to happen.
Maybe we're going to join the
The 3-pounder gun was typically used to support infantry on the battlefield. It was light enough that it could be transported quickly with a single horse and a small crew. It was easy to fire, which meant that infantry as well as the Royal Regiments of Artillery were capable of using them, as well as the militia during the War of 1812. 3-pounder actually means that it requires a 3-pound projectile or something that would be the equivalent, such as spherical case shot, which is like a shotgun effect, firing small musket balls off the end. When an officer pulls his regiment in the dry run, the gentleman will now step up carrying the linstock. And the linstock had a cord of a little bit of like rope that would be soaked in saltpeter, which will allow it to burn slowly. Fire!
Oh, that's the dry run.
Oh, sorry. Okay, we're doing a dry one first, okay?
We have been here.
I totally forgot about that, so they're not actually handing it in until the next time.
Now I will warn you that all of the gunners are wearing earplugs, so if you are sensitive to loud noises, you may want to cover your ears
get a lot of light in
when
your
you see
picture?
the
I
gunners
can't.
yell prepare fire.
I got lithium
They are
batteries,
now
kids.
going
Stick
through
with
the
me.
loading procedure. You'll first see the gunner at the rear pushing down through a small vent, a little wire prick that allows them to make sure the vent is clear at the breech or the back of the gun. The first implement that's driven down is a worm, which is a corkscrew device designed to allow them to clear any debris out of the barrel. That's followed with the sponge.
You need to look right there. That's what I'm taking a picture of. It's the same. It's right there.
Allows him to make sure that there are no
You waste the
sparks
batteries
in
to
the
do
vent.
that. You know, look.
You'll
In
note
the
at
right
all
spot?
times that the gunner at the rear is making sure that there is no vacuum or air running through the barrel. And now retrieving the round, the gunner will place his hand on the barrel.
Yeah, I'll look here.
And places the charge into the mouth of the gun. And imagine doing this as people
Mr. Lindsay.
are firing at you. The charge has been seated into the breech of the gun. They can now puncture the charge at the breech. And you can imagine in battle, this would be done incredibly fast. And in fact, it was known to skip the sponging stage and go directly to loading the next round. The mortar and the 3-pounder are now ready to fire. Watch.
Here we go.
Cover your ears. Here we go.
He looks like Abraham Lincoln.
Fire!
Whoa!
And these guys back here too, they seem to be applauding the beer thing. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That ends the black powder demonstrations. In a few moments, we're going to have an opportunity to get the stage ready to go for the Drumming Fools and Gin Lane. And we would like to have you stay back for a few more minutes until this cannon has been safety. We know that it's safe for you to come forward. Thank you very much, and we'll be right back with you folks in a few minutes.
I'll get to my toe.